Hey guys, it's Elise and welcome back to My Cupcake Addiction. On today's episode, we're going to be making Minion Twinkies. If you don't have access to Twinkies where you are, you can use something like a jam roulette or a jam swirl, and you can just taper off the tops of them a little bit so they're not quite so flat on top. The other things that you're going to need, apart from Twinkies, you're going to need chocolate, and I've got mine in yellow and blue. I've coloured my chocolate using AmeriColor colours. I've got a whole video dedicated to how to melt your chocolate, how to thin it, and how to colour it if you're having any trouble there. And I'm also using black candy melts. I've got some of these little roll candies, and I'm just gonna pick out the white ones for some eyes today. I've got a pair of scissors, a fork, a spoon, and a knife, and I've got 3 Ziploc bags. You're also gonna need a couple of pieces of baking paper or non-stick paper. Let's get started. So you'll notice that I've got my yellow chocolate. It's quite fluid, but I've got it in quite a shallow, wide bowl. That's because I'm gonna roll my Twinkie in it, so it kind of has to be long enough that the Twinkie can fit in there, but still deep enough that you can coat it. And just kind of tip him over once or twice. I'm gonna pull the spoon out, and I'm gonna use my fork here because that's gonna give me a bit more of a flat and level surface. And it's also gonna enable a lot of that extra chocolate to kind of drip off. So I'm just gonna drip off any excess that I can. And then I'm gonna use my knife, and I'm just going to slide that one with as little excess chocolate as possible down onto that piece of baking paper or parchment paper. You want to take some of your black candy melt now, and I always use candy melts when I'm going for black because it's really, really hard to add enough food coloring to actual chocolate to get it that beautiful black color. I'm going to scoop some of that into a Ziploc bag, and then I'm just going to cut off a really nice fine tip to begin with, and that's going to be for some of our detail work. You want to pipe some little strands of hair, get them as straight and as even as you can. And these little guys are a little bit fiddly, so make sure you pipe a few more than you think you're going to need here. And then you want to take some of your little eyes and just give them little tiny black dots in the middle of their eye. Now it depends, if you've got edible markers or if you want to melt a little bit of milk chocolate or dark chocolate, you can give them coloured pupils, but it just depends on if you want to have that extra step. To make the feet, you need a thicker tip. So take that same tip now, snip it off. Really, I'm just going to let that chocolate kind of blob out and pull it back. It's actually like a bit of a black love heart. So you want them to join at the back because that's going to give you a nice solid base, and it's going to give your minion enough of a support system that he's not going to fall over. Make as many sets of feet as the amount of Minion Twinkies you're going to make. And then you want to let all of that dry before we come back and do anything. You can pop it in the fridge to help it set a little bit faster. With all of your little Twinkies set, you just want to use your knife just to sort of trim away any little bits of kind of rough or ridgy edges because we want them to be as rounded as possible. So I just want to put some of that blue chocolate into a Ziploc bag, but not too much because you need enough in your bowl to be able to dip the bottom half of your minion for his little overalls. So I'm just going to take a couple of spoonfuls, and then we'll cut another nice fine little piping tip off the end, like so. Now I've also put some of our black candy melts into a new Ziploc bag because I need that little fine piping tip again. And we're going to use that to draw the goggles line. So you want your goggles line sort of separating out the top quarter. You can turn your Twinkie on its side. First one side, lay him down over the front, and then just come up the other side. And then while that's still wet, you can stick down 2 eyes or 1 eye, depending on which of the minions you're doing. Lovely. So at this point, you want to just remove your little feet from the bottom of the baking paper, and they should come off really easily, but you just don't want them to be stuck on there. Now you can take your blue Ziploc bag, and we're going to kind of draw on his overalls. Make sure that you're getting them as even as possible, and I like to start at the bottom and just come up on a little bit of an angle, and then again on the other side in exactly the same place. Once you've got your 2 little straps, you're going to give him like the little top part of his overalls. So that's really just a bit of a square or a rectangle. Fill it in a little bit, and then you just want to give him a little tap down on the bench, which is just going to smooth that little rectangle out. Now before we stand him up, because we don't want to do too much of the fine detail work once he's standing, I'm just going to give him a little mouth, and feel free to mix up your expressions here. This guy's going to have like a cute little half smile. And then you want to pick him up. Be very careful if these little side bits are still wet that you're not going to smear them around the place. Give your blue chocolate a good tap on the bench, and that makes sure that it's nice and level on the top, which gives you a nice little straight line. And you're going to dip him into just above where you've put in that little rectangle of overall. Then you want to bring him straight over, find him a pair of feet, and stick him straight down onto those feet. Now you need to support him until that chocolate becomes tacky. With Twinkies, they're not overly cold, so it can take 30 seconds to a minute for him to become tacky enough to be able to stand without your help. Once they're all nice and set, it's up to you, but I like to just come around, bring my piping bags, and just like finish off the goggle strap and also the little overall straps around the back, just so they're not a little bit nude on the back. All right, so our minions are nearly done. To get your little bits of hair, just run a knife underneath them and you kind of scoop them up just to separate them and unstick them from your parchment paper or your baking paper. I've got some more yellow chocolate in a Ziploc bag. I'm just going to put a little blob of it down there. This is to dip in some of our little hair pieces so you've got a glue. They can be a bit annoying. They kind of want to stick to your fingers. They kind of want to melt a little bit because they're really thin bits of chocolate, but they look so cute, so they're worth it. You can decide what kind of hair you want to give your minions. Some of them have like the little baldy kind of Homer Simpson hair, and some of them have the sticky up hair. Beautiful, and then finally we want to give them some arms. For the arms, you want to make sure everything's pretty set, or at least be very, very careful when you're grabbing your minions. And then just underneath that little strap, come down with the yellow Ziploc bag. Once you've got the little arm on, you need to give them a little black glove. And I just did that by putting like 3 little kind of finger blobs. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to look kind of like a minion arm and a minion glove. So there you've got it. Minions Twinkies have been sorted. So you've got your gorgeous little, totally edible, standalone Minions Twinkies. I hope you guys have loved this video. If you have, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe to My Cupcake Addiction for 2 new videos every week. And as always, thanks very much for watching.